I am Jessica D. Abuan, Bachelor of Elementary Education student of Palawan State University, Nara campus. Today, I am going to present a topic from our course, Foundation of Special and Inclusive Education. The topic is about learners in other marginalized groups. From the title, what comes to your mind from the word marginalized? According to Merriam-Webster Dictionary, marginalized is having social or political status, relegated to an important or powerless position within a society or group. In education, there are different learners in marginalized groups. The first is the child laborers. These are the children who work that deprives their childhood, their potential, and their dignity, and that is harmful to physical and mental development. The child is forced to work because of poverty. Nearly half of those in child labor, in absolute terms, are in hazardous work that directly endangers their health, safety, and moral development. Because of this, there is a large number of child laborers that are unable to get an education. Those children who are able to study are emotionally and physically tired from work and incapable of gaining much from studying in school, more so doing self-study. They also tend to perform below par compared to their classmates in terms of learning achievement. So the next is we have the indigenous people. They are the learners who are descendants of the people who inhabited the land or territory prior to colonization or the establishment of state borders. They possess distinct economic and political systems, languages, cultures, and beliefs. These indigenous learners suffers in developing and developed countries. Excessive poverty, poor health, unsanitary and poor living conditions, malnutrition, expulsion from their lands, and absence or lack of quality education. These learners generally lack access to education because they usually stay in places that are quite far from schools, and also because of their marginalized status in the community, their culture, and their language. They are not included or even consulted in decision-making process that identify the kind of education they need, the curriculum that will be implemented, and the teachers who will teach them. Because even the teachers are not trained to teach indigenous people the use of their language. More often, unable to provide materials and activities that are relevant to the uniqueness of their culture. Because of this, there is education gaps. There are indigenous students who got lower achievement outcomes than non-indigenous learners. There are less students who enroll and who dropped out in school. The next from marginalized groups are those children who are abused. They are the children who experience both physical and emotional ill treatment, sexual abuse, negligence, and commercial exploitation, which results in actual or potential harm to the child's health, survival, development, or dignity. All this kind of abuse and cruelty in childhood have an effect on educational outcomes, which included school dropout, school absence, academic achievement, and other educational outcomes, such as grade retention, learning outcomes, and remedial classes. The fourth, we have those refugees or displaced learners. These refugee learners who has been forced to flee his or her country because of persecution, war, and violence. They fear of persecution for reasons of race, religion, nationality, and political opinion or membership in a particular social group. The displaced learners are those who has been forced to flee their home, but never crossed any international borders. They seek safety anywhere they can find, like nearby towns, schools, settlements, internal camps, even forests and fields. They are in distress, scared, and uncertain about what is going to happen to them, for how long, and what their future is going to be like. The areas or places these children are confined to, food and shelter are given opportunity than education. There are other complications that are hindrances to the quality of education given to these children. The first, we have the because of the countries that host them are unable to protect refugees' rights to education, simply because they themselves have a distended system of education and vulnerable government and economic institutions. The second might be because of the length of time refugees and displaced children are in resettlement and refugee areas. Educational resources given to them do not allow for quality education. It shifts to accommodate children, overtired teachers, and shorter learning time. The third might be the language and the lack of material. And the last must be the children who have been exposed to war and violence demonstrate signs of psychosocial problems that are not addressed. The last from the marginalized groups are the children on conflict zones. These are the children who are at conflict in their countries. It's said that they are used as human shields, killed, maimed, or recruited to fight. There are also cases of rape, forced marriage, and abduction to these children. This causes physical and psychological trauma that will have enduring effects. When they are raped, they are condemned, and if they get pregnant, their unborn children are unwanted and stigmatized. Being a child soldier makes them lose their identity and exposes them to conditions that will have a long-lasting effect on their mental health. There are countless effects of armed conflict in children who are very vulnerable and unable to protect themselves. Because of this, there are educational effects on these children. The enrollment is going down. A lot of them is dropping out of school. School conditions are bad. And there are low levels of educational attainment and abuse is committed. So those are the different learners in marginalized groups. According to Philippine Statistics Authority, the number of working children in 5 to 17 years old was estimated at 862,000 in 2024. There is a decrease of 232,000 from the estimated of 1.9 million working children in 2023. In 2024, out of 863,000 working children, boys comprised of 534,000 or 61.8%, while girls made up 329,000 or 38.2%. From these 863,000 working children, 50.3% are working in services sector, 40.8% are in agriculture sector, and 8.9% are in industry sector. The majority of 73.8% of working children reported to have worked 20 hours or less per week, and 15.2% worked 21 to 40 hours per week. Although there are laws that prohibits for child labor, there is still a high number of child labor in the Philippines. According to International Labor Organization, children work because their survival and that of their families depend on it, and in many cases because unscrupulous adults take advantage of their vulnerability. It is also due to inadequacies and weaknesses in national educational systems. It is deeply ingrained in cultural and social attitudes and traditions. Poverty is certainly the greatest single force driving children into the workplace. Income from a child's work is felt to be crucial for his or her own survival or for that of the household. According to the experts, the main reasons for the emergence of child labor in bigger cities are unhealthy family life and economic deprivation. Families strained by financial difficulties cannot cope with increasing demands of their children and sometimes even fail to provide them with adequate nutrition. This appears to be the main reason children look for their own sources of income. As an educator, there are strategies that can be applied to support these learners. The first, we can create a safe and learning environment by building a supportive relationship, emotional safety, and avoiding discrimination, bullying, and abuse. The second, we can differentiate instruction. This is to cater different needs and readiness of each learner. The third, we can provide mother tongue instruction for those indigenous learners. And the fourth, we can provide flexible school hours for child laborer. So how can teachers promote equity and inclusion? Promoting equity requires a conscious awareness of bias, both personal and systematic. Teachers must critically examine their own assumptions and attitudes, recognizing how unconscious biases may influence the way they perceive and interact with students. For instance, assuming that a refugee student cannot succeed academically because of language limitations, or expecting less from a child from a low-income family can silently reinforce inequality. Teachers who are self-aware and reflective create a more just classroom, where expectations are high for all students, not just a select a few. A foundational strategy in inclusive teaching is the differentiation of instruction and assessment, recognizing the students learn in diverse ways. Teachers can tailor their methods to accommodate varying needs, abilities, and cultural contexts. This might involve providing visual aids, using multilingual resources, allowing oral presentations in place of written assignments, designing lessons that connect with students' lived experiences. When assessments are equally varied and student-centered, learners from marginalized groups are more likely to demonstrate their true abilities and engage in meaningfully education with their education. Equally important is fostering a voice-rich classroom, where every student feels heard, valued, and empowered to contribute. Marginalized learners often come from environments where their voices have been silenced, whether due to trauma, displacement, or social stigma. Teachers can counteract this by creating safe, respectful spaces that invite dialogue and celebrate differences, encouraging students' input in classroom decisions, inviting personal stories, and validating diverse perspectives are powerful ways to cultivate inclusion. Strong relationships form the backbone of equitable teaching. Teachers who invest time in understanding their students and individuals, learning about their interests, strengths, fears, and dreams, are better positioned to support their growth. Trust and empathy are especially important when working with abused or traumatized children, who may require emotional safety before academic progress can be made. Listening actively, showing patience, and maintaining consistent, caring communication are essential practices in building these bonds. Lastly, promoting equity and inclusion is not a one-time achievement, but a lifelong commitment to learning and growth. Effective educators are those who continually reflect on their practice, seek feedback from students, and remain open to professional development.